everyone, and welcome to Dead to Rights, Season 4, Episode 83. And today we'll be introducing an author that I didn't know before, but I'm becoming familiar with, and I hope you will as well, Barry Finlay. And Barry is an Ottawa writer, and he's just released his 5th book in the Marcie Kane thriller series, and it's called The Burden of Darkness. So look for that. According to Barry, each of the books stand alone, but the characters evolve. So there is an arc going on, and that's something that I always find very fascinating. His characters are very strong, independent, and his lead character is a recently divorced woman. So these have been bestsellers, and I hope you're going to enjoy them. And also, I've got to remind you that coming out this fall, we've got our anthology of murder and malaise called A Grave Diagnosis. 35 unique stories by 35 very unique writers. And I hope you'll watch for that and enjoy it very much. And now I welcome you to our interview with Barry Finlay. Good morning, Barry, and welcome to Dead to Rights. How are you today?
I'm just fine, thanks. How are you?
Very good. Nice to meet you. I'm glad to see you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
The Zoom technology is just wonderful, isn't it?
It's certainly been a help during COVID, that's for sure.
It sure has. It sure has. We're going to talk about your new release, of course, and your thriller series. But first, I'd like to hear a little bit about your background as a financial manager. And I believe that you worked for the federal government. Can you tell us just a little bit about that? And does it play into your writing at all?
Yeah, I'm a chartered accountant and a certified management accountant, so I definitely have a financial background. I worked for a firm of chartered accountants for a few years, and then I moved over to the federal government. And I finished my career with Canada Revenue Agency, but I was actually one of the good guys. I wasn't an auditor. I was responsible for accounting for the revenue. I guess 99% of the revenue of the federal government. So that's how I finished my career. But during that time, I did write financial policy, and nobody reads financial policy unless they have to. But I think it did sort of hone my writing skills and teach me how to write about a difficult subject in layman's terms, hopefully. And so it definitely played into my writing. I was wondering, well, I started off writing with 2 nonfiction books, and then I thought it'd be fun to try a fiction book, and I didn't know if I'd be able to do that because accountants aren't supposed to be creative. So, so I didn't know whether I'd be able to do it or not. But I've written 5 since then, 5 fiction books. So it's turned out okay.
You know, I think the best creative people are people who had careers in non-creative fields, because we're highly motivated to want to get towards the creativity sides of ourselves. My husband's an economist, and he first started writing fiction for exactly the reasons you've just stated. So,
yeah.
And I work in accounting too. So there you go. There you have
it. Yeah, it's certainly a change.
Tell me about your nonfiction titles. I know that you had a couple that started your writing career.
Yeah, what started it all was I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro with my son in 2009. So he was 30 at the time, and I was 60 at the time. So we decided to climb Kilimanjaro. And after we climbed, we raised some money for the Kids of Africa as part of the climb. We used it as a platform. Raise money for the Kids of Africa, and we managed to raise enough to build a school and drill a well.
Wow.
And
that's
so,
a good turnaround for a climb that you would have done anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, congratulations.
And so when we came back, we started doing presentations, and I realized how interested people were in the climb, and I guess the fact that I did it at age 60 and so on. So we decided to write a book about it. And my son and I both contributed to the book, and it's called Kilimanjaro and Beyond. And I found the experience so enjoyable, I decided to write another nonfiction book. And the next one was about travel with my in-laws. So there are a bunch of characters, and we've done quite a bit of traveling. So there are a number of stories that came out of that. and it was kind of a natural fit for a travel memoir.
So Kilimanjaro and Beyond, for anyone who
Yeah.
would like to look it up.
Yeah.
And is it titled Travel with My In-Laws?
No, the travel book is called I Guess We Missed the Boat.
Oh, okay. I guess we missed the boat. So it's the Marcie Kane thriller series where you've got a brand new release called The Burden of Darkness.
Right.
And that is the fifth book in the series, is it?
It is, yeah. Well,
Okay.
there are 4 full-length novels and novella.
Okay. Okay. Which one is the novella?
It's called Never So Alone,
Mm-hmm.
and it fills in some of the backline for Nathan Harris, who is Marcie's love interest, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
He's a former FBI agent who is now a consultant for the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
And so Never So Alone focuses on him and his back.
Okay. And that's titled Never So Alone, and the character's name is Nathan
Harris.
Nathan Harris. Tell me a little bit about him. What specialty within the FBI does he have as an agent?
Well, he was a field agent in the FBI.
Okay.
My books are all have a bit of a social commentary to them, I guess.
Mhm.
The first one, The Vanishing Wife, is how far an ordinary man will go when his family is threatened.
Mhm.
And then the second one, A Perilous Question, looks at human trafficking.
Mhm.
Never So Alone falls in there somewhere, and it focuses on the drug culture.
Mhm.
And then Remote Access is a political thriller with computer hacking involved.
Mhm.
And then the final one, A Burden of Darkness, the antagonist has PTSD.
Okay.
So each one of them has sort of a social commentary. So Nathan is kind of he's a former field agent and consultant, and so he's able to investigate in one way or
These sound
another.
like fascinating books. Tell us about your protagonist in the latest.
Yeah, Marcie Kane is the protagonist, and she's introduced in The Vanishing Wife, the first book, and she's an independent, recently divorced, sometimes sarcastic woman. And
Women
she
are never
evolves.
sarcastic, I must tell you. Just so you know, Barry, women are never sarcastic.
Yeah, okay.
And yes, you can quote me on that.
Okay. But so she's introduced, and she evolves through the course of the series, and her life evolves just as ours would normally evolve.
Mhm.
I try not to make my characters into supermen or superwomen.
Mhm.
They do extraordinary things when they meet extraordinary challenges. But I think
Mhm.
most people would do that. I think most people would rise to the occasion.
Mhm.
So I don't want them to be able to take on the mob single-handedly and for Marcie to beat up some 400-pound guy. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, just because, we want a strong woman, but we know that women are strong in many ways. It doesn't have to always be physical,
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of ways to represent that strength, and we're learning more all the time now these days. I love character-driven books, so I think yours are really going to fit the bill for me. I'm going to definitely look into them, and I encourage all of our listeners to. And the latest is The Burden of Darkness, but give us the very first title in the series of 5.
The first title in the series was The Vanishing Wife.
The Vanishing Wife, yes.
Yeah.
And that's the one I'm going to start with myself. Now, just tell me what brought you to crime writing in particular.
I've always had an interest in crime writing. My own reading is primarily, well, I'm kind of an eclectic reader, I guess. But I do read a number of crime novels and enjoy them, and I'm entertained by them. And if they're well written, and most are. And the other thing, I guess, was that I've always been kind of fascinated about how far a man would go if their family is threatened. And was always, when I hear a news item on on the when I hear an item on the news where someone's wife has disappeared or their child has disappeared, or how horrible that must be.
Hmm.
And what would you do in that situation? And so
Yeah.
that's always kind of been in the back of my mind. So it was kind of a natural fit to
Do you
tie
get a lot of
in.
your ideas from the news? Because I hear people say, "Oh, where do you get your ideas? I could
Yeah,
never come up with that." I just think we're permeated with ideas all the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just have to open the newspaper or
yeah,
watch the news,
yeah,
and there's
yeah.
certainly lots of fodder for books there.
There sure is. There
Yeah,
sure is. Even when we're all in lockdown, there is.
even more so maybe.
How have you been coping with COVID? How have you and your wife and family been coping?
Well, it's been hard. We've got three grandchildren, so we weren't able to see them for a couple of months, or see them from a distance, I guess. And now, fortunately, we're able to do that again. And on a personal level, I'm a golfer, so I was happy to see the golf courses open up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's given me an opportunity to take some courses too. I've
What have
actually
you been
taken
studying?
creative writing.
Excellent, bravo. 7 books into your career.
Well, I don't plot my books. I'm
Mhm,
kind of a pantser, I guess. I fly by the seat of my pants. I
mhm,
plot 2 chapters ahead, two or
mhm.
three chapters ahead, but that's it.
But I'll
And so
bet
I,
you have a pretty strong idea going in, though. You
yes,
strike me
yeah,
as someone who would, yes.
yeah.
And I find that's a common theme amongst people who've had careers that where they've had to plan and they've had to, that the plan is there, even if you're not writing it all down. And maybe probably the reason you don't feel you need to chart it is because it's there.
Well, I always enjoy not knowing where the book is going to go. It,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
sounds a little weird, but I don't necessarily know how it ends, and it takes me off in directions that I didn't expect. But one
Mhm.
of the courses I took was on plotting,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm going to try that and see if it
And what did
works.
they suggest? Because this can be our tip for writers.
Well, it's I think they had 15 different plot lines or something that you fill in the blanks ahead of time, and then I guess once you've done that, the book should come fairly easily from the plot. It was interesting. I saw Jeffrey Deaver speak.
Hmm.
He's crime writer, well-known
Hmm.
crime writer, and he actually does over 200 pages of plot before he starts writing.
Wow. Wow.
So I guess there'd never be writer's block. You
That's
know
right.
exactly where it's going. So
That's right. Well, you would think anyway.
yeah, yeah,
But I think, writer's block probably has stems that are beyond whether you're plotting or not. I mean, I've done both styles of writing, plotting and pantsing, and I've done one novella that was completely organic. I just woke up one day with it completely fully formed, so there was
oh,
no need to do anything with that one except just write it.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but I found both are fascinating ways to do it. For me, when I was really plotting, it was because I was trying to follow a true events timeline and
okay,
I didn't want to screw it up. It was a really important event and I didn't want to screw it up. I didn't want to lay my fiction down on the wrong place.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that one required a lot of plotting.
I think
How are you enjoying sorry?
it would help you keep the storyline straight too. I find sometimes I have to go back and rejig what I wrote previously after I'm a little
Yes.
further into the book, and so I think maybe plotting would help with that.
Yes,
I guess
yes,
I'll find out.
exactly. Yeah, I guess we'll find out exactly. How are you enjoying the courses? Because I'm hearing that a lot of people during this situation are studying.
Well, I think I enjoyed them. They were, I think they're pretty well done. I found them on Udemy,
Mm-hmm.
um, Udemy,
Mm-hmm.
and there are all kinds of courses there, anything you want to take,
Okay.
um, and they're pretty inexpensive. So, and I found the ones I took were really well done.
Okay, okay, and
Yeah,
that's Udemy, Udemy, right?
right.
For anyone who wants to look it up.
Yeah,
Take a look online because really, I don't know how much longer we're going to be social distancing or isolating, or just basically working from home, a lot of people. And if you're finding it's a little too quiet, you might want to take some courses and,
yeah.
use the time to your own benefit. So,
The other thing I've done is, I picked up the guitar about 2 years ago,
mhm.
and I've been taking YouTube videos to teach myself how to play guitar. So I had a little more time to do that too during COVID.
Oh, that's nice. I wish I'd known going into this interview. I would have asked you to have your guitar handy.
Oh,
Have you
no, I
got any
don't think
book covers handy? Do you have any of your book covers
I
handy that you
do.
can
I've
show us?
got them right
Hold it
here. This is
very steady.
that's the latest one, The
That
Burden of
is a
Darkness.
beautiful cover.
Thank you.
As soon as I speak, it disappears. So
That's the one
that's
just before The Burden
gorgeous.
of Darkness.
That's gorgeous. Who does your covers? Can you give them a plug?
Um, this one was, I don't remember now.
Okay.
I've gone through Books Go Social.
Mm-hmm.
They do cover design, and they did The Burden of Darkness.
Those are
And
beautiful covers that you've got there.
thank you. And
Yeah,
then A Perilous Question. And this was done by a fellow in Kingston by the name
that's
of
fabulous. That's
Tom Nickerson.
fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah, Tom does a great job. And
Wow.
then that's the novella.
That is fantastic.
And
Really
again,
like
that was done by Books Go Social.
it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this one was done by Tom Nickerson in Kingston.
You've got no misses. They're all fabulous. Anybody who's drawn to covers, as most readers are, would love those. So
Well, thank
by
you.
all means, go look for Barry Finlay. Finlay. Is that
Right.
correct, Barry?
Exactly.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, what are you working on next?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm plotting. All of my books take place internationally so far. So The Burden of Darkness, for example, starts in Canada and goes across Canada and ends up in Arizona. Remote Access has a Chinese connection,
Mm-hmm.
and but they're all kind of U.S. driven. The
Mm-hmm.
characters live in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm thinking of doing now, the one I'm plotting, is going to take place completely in Ottawa.
Okay.
I've never done that. I've never done a local
Well, that'll be
book.
a challenge. That'll be a real challenge for you,
Yeah,
You'll be able to
yeah.
get some local flavor in there too.
Kind of looking
But
forward to it.
yeah, but I just love international thrillers. They're my favorite,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, like I said, we've done quite a bit of traveling. So every time we go somewhere, I try to make a note of what I'm seeing, and so that I can put it in the next book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I always find
So
geography really is a character, and if people approach it that way, what you see and what you feel and smell around you, and the social norms and customs and attitudes
yeah,
are such a big factor in good fiction.
it makes it so much easier to describe it if you've actually seen it or lived
Yes,
it.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And I find even with expressions, I'll stand in front of the mirror and make the expression I'm trying to describe, and then go back to the computer and try and describe it the way I saw it.
The
So
things we do, the things we do, nobody knows.
no, exactly.
They only see the finished product. They don't see us trying to learn guitar, or in my case, clarinet, or
Oh yeah,
because you just know if you have a character who is doing these things, you cannot pull it off unless you've tried to do it yourself.
right.
You just
Exactly.
can't. You have to know, how do the pieces fit in the case of the clarinet? How does the Rideau Valley smell and feel, and all those things.
Yeah.
So,
The other thing I try and do is speak to a subject matter expert. So, for example, in The Burden of Darkness, since it's about PTSD, I talked to a woman, a paramedic,
mhm.
who has PTSD. And I talked to a clinical psychologist who treats people with PTSD. And I
Okay.
find these people, detectives too, I've talked to detectives in the Ottawa Police Service, and I find
Mhm.
they're very forthcoming
Yeah.
and willing to offer advice, and I'll send them their sections, or the section that relates to what they've told me, make
Yeah.
sure that it makes sense, because I think it's important that the technical aspects, even though it's fiction,
Yes.
I think the
Yes.
technical aspects have to be right. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And I will tell you that I found police in particular to be really forthcoming. They love to talk about their work,
they do.
especially the ones that are nearing retirement because they have so many stories,
Yeah,
you know. And
yeah,
I've spoken with a couple of FBI agents over the years and just fascinating stuff,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Um,
I'm always excited to get home and write after I've talked to them.
exactly. I'm going to have to bag me a Mountie. I've never spoken with a Mountie. I think that would be pretty fascinating too. A whole different look, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
hmm Well, now you're plotting something right now. What is the next release going to be called? Do you know?
Haven't got that far yet.
Haven't got a title yet. Okay.
No,
Okay.
no, I find I have to be into the book a bit before the title
Before the
pops
title
up.
appears, yeah. But
Yeah.
it is the sixth in the series, is it?
Um, I don't really want to divulge that
Okay.
information.
That's all right. That's all
Yeah,
right. I have a number of people say I'm not far enough in. I don't really want to divulge it yet. So that's quite all right. So for everyone listening, it is called Burden of Darkness,
yeah.
and it is the fifth in the Marcie Kane thriller collection. And there are also a couple of nonfiction books to look for. A Kilimanjaro, say it for me.
Kilimanjaro and Beyond.
hmm
And I guess we missed the boat.
I guess we missed the boat, which is traveling with my in-laws.
Right.
Could be the subtitle for that one.
Yeah.
So are you actually getting out of the house now? Is there any place that you've been going? Anything that you're doing to kind of brighten up your days?
Just a golf course for me.
Just the golf course. Okay, very
The
good. You can tell
the
I'm not
patios.
getting to the hairdresser.
Well,
I've
it
got
was
the
nice to get
COVID
that.
due.
Yeah, it was nice to get that done. I got my hair cut a couple of weeks ago, and it was quite the relief.
Oh yeah. Oh
But the
yeah. Well, my
patios are
family
open.
is yeah, my family's lucky I can cut hair, so I do theirs, but I
Oh,
can't cut
yeah.
my own. I did kind of level it off at one point because it was just too heavy, but that's as far as I can go with my own. So, you know, so I'm not open for business if anybody's thinking. Nope, nope.
My grandkids wanted me to let it grow until September,
hmm
but I think the heat took care of that.
Yeah, I know it's really, really hot, isn't it?
It is. Yeah,
It's just incredibly hot this year. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
It's
Barry, it was really lovely to meet you and very nice to speak with you. And I'm definitely going to look for your books. Are they available on Kindle?
they are. Yeah,
Excellent, because
they're
that's how I love
Kindle
to
Unlimited.
download. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'll be downloading the first one, which is called The Vanishing Wife
yeah.
by Barry Finlay. And I encourage everyone to do the same. Thank you
Great.
very much, Barry.
Thanks. My pleasure.
I want to thank everyone for spending their time with us today. And I especially want to thank Barry Finlay for joining us today on Dead to Rights. It was a real pleasure meeting you and getting to know more about your work, Barry. I also, as always, want to thank Ted Carrick for the original theme music for Dead to Rights titled Eyes of Gold. Hope to see you next week as we're barreling down the tube on season 4 of Dead to Rights.
A dusty road, a man alone. His vital signs go on hold. And I don't know what you've been told, but the years have turned my eyes gold. And I told you what you told me, we'd never be in the same boat for free, yet it rides